Hey, happy Friday, everybody. We're so glad that you could join us today. My name is Kristen Muzzy, and I'm your host today for Riveting Connections, Connect and Collaborate Radio, where we highlight issues, leaders, and solutions in the manufacturing industry. This industry is vital to our economy, and we believe that through connecting and collaborating on the issues, we can help one another grow our business, the community, and individuals in the community. I'm super excited about the guests we have today, where we're going to focus on a topic that I personally am incredibly passionate about, but it's a top of mind nationwide issue, and that's on the workforce skills gap and educating the community on the great opportunities that exist in manufacturing. You know, in our country, we have, for our listeners that don't know much about manufacturing, in our country, we've got a huge, serious problem with the workforce skills gap. There's right now about 1 million jobs that are going unfilled because of lack of skills. It's estimated to grow to 3.5 million jobs in the next 10 years if we don't solve this problem. It's not that there's not people available, but there's not people that are skilled or even know about the opportunities within the industry. So Colorado is not immune to it, and I pulled a query just a couple days ago, and in Colorado we've got about 10,000 jobs that are open in manufacturing right now. And I talk to manufacturers day in and day out here in Colorado, and every single one of them has a problem in recruiting, right? So I've got 3 guests that I'm so excited about. All 3 are from BI Inc., which is located in Boulder, Colorado. They make monitoring devices for about 1,000 agencies, and I'm going to let our guest share exactly what these monitoring devices are, but they're pretty phenomenal. And I've got an experienced manufacturing manager, Kyle Kingrey. And then I've got 2 incredible millennials that work at BI as well. So I'm going to start with introducing Kyle Kingrey, and you don't know everything I'm going to say about you. But first of all, you're a rock climber, right?
That's true.
Okay. But Kyle is a manufacturing manager for BI. You've been there about 8 years? 9.5. 9.5.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
And you're chair of the Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership Manufacturing Rocks Committee. That's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to talk about what that is, but it's pretty awesome. And Kyle was just awarded the Outstanding Committee Chair by NoCo at the 5-year anniversary meeting that was about a month ago, a little over a month ago,
yep.
Right? And Kyle's got vast experience in manufacturing. Actually, manufacturing, you've got it in your family, your father, your brother,
yep,
right?
That's correct.
So you grew up around manufacturing.
I did.
Yeah. But more than anything, I think in talking and getting to know you, Kyle, is your passion for growing people and inspiring people and leading people. And I hear that a lot from your peers. I checked up on you afterwards.
All right.
But I want to share a couple comments that were made when the award was given that really, I think, sums you up.
Okay.
So, I know this is a little humbling, right? So here's what was said. He inspires manufacturers not by his words or fancy writing, but by being a living, breathing example for manufacturers to follow. If all Northern Colorado manufacturers worked with Kingrey mindset, love that, there would possibly be no need for the Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership. If at all possible, we should forever keep Kyle in the NoCo family and maybe keep him rocking one more season, as he too might want to keep the magic going. The Rocks meetings are packed wall to wall, and Kyle has done an amazing job coordinating these efforts on many levels, not only just in Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership, but at BI as well. His name in the community is always spoken with great respect and pride. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad that
very
you
humbling
could be here.
indeed.
Well, you earned it, and I'm sure that these 2 gentlemen would affirm that as well. So welcome.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to introduce Dom Walker, who's a Methods and Procedures Analyst.
Yep.
I've never heard that title before, but it's very cool. So Dom is a millennial on the very tail end of the millennials, right?
Yeah, born in 1994.
Wow. But Dom, you're the first recipient of BI's Innovation Award for developing a manufacturing execution system. You started out as an assembler about 3.5 years ago.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're from Boulder, or you grew up in Boulder.
Yeah.
Originally from Washington, born in Washington, state of Washington. And you've transitioned in this 3.5 years, as I understand it, you've transitioned from an assembler to a number of positions, and this title, Methods and Procedures Analyst, was created for you. So super excited to talk about your story, but welcome. We're so glad to have you.
All right, thank you.
And then we've got Slade. I hit Dom. So we've got Slade Melton, who's a manufacturing coordinator.
Yes.
And again, that title is a brand new title since you joined 3 years ago. So Slade is from Lamar, Colorado. And Slade was, you graduated in?
2014.
Wow. You're so young. And you were part of the student council in high school, the Future Farmers of America. In your senior year, you were president of the Wiley FFA chapter and became head boy of the school.
Yes, I did.
And I'm really curious. We got to find out more about that. And you've worked at BI for 3 years, as I said, and you've worked up the ranks from an assembler to a manufacturing coordinator.
That is correct.
And and I believe you told me that you're going to be doing some speaking with FFA about the opportunities in manufacturing. Is that correct?
Yes, I want to get into speaking back into the FFA, lining some things up right now to do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Got it committed, right?
Absolutely.
Right, Kyle?
Yep. He's already stepping in, helping with some of the speaking engagements that we're working on. So he does a great job.
Fantastic. So, so welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
I know
Thank
that
you.
this is good. This is going to be so much fun. So, Kyle, I'm going to start with you. Would you share with our audience who BI is?
Sure.
And I love the history. If you can tell a little comic strip.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, we all three work for BI, and BI has been, in part of Boulder for going back 30 plus years. It started off as a company that was actually tracking dairy cattle, and they were using the RF technology for that.
30 years ago.
Yeah, over 30
That's
years
crazy.
ago.
Yeah.
And that took off, and that was a technology that was fairly new, and it was utilized in that aspect. Well, then part of the history wall at BI, which you've seen, had the comic strip on there where a Judge Jack Love, I believe was his name, was reading a comic strip about Spider-Man. And in that comic strip, they were using RF technology to do tracking. Well, the judge knew about this technology that existed, and long story short, implemented that technology into a tracking device.
Wow.
And the business kind of just really took off
And
at
a
that
tracking
point.
device for
For criminal
criminals.
justice.
For criminal
Correct.
justice.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is the market that we're in now for
From a Spider-Man comic.
yes.
I love it.
Yes,
That's
and when
awesome.
you come to BI to take a tour, you can kind of read more into that history a little bit, which is really fascinating. On
Yeah,
how-
I absolutely enjoyed the tour. There's a whole history wall that you can go down from the inception of the idea all the way down to where they are today.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
well done by the marketing team there, and
Yeah.
it's just it really helps when we do tours, which we do a lot of tours at BI for a lot of the officers around the country, a lot of the installers and
Oh,
our
great.
customers. They come in, and it really just helps spell that tour out a little bit as far as this is where we were, this is where we are, and this is where we're going.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, how many agencies? 1,000 agencies plus?
Yeah, across
right?
the country. Yeah, we
And-
have agencies all over.
And working with local, federal,
Yep, exactly right.
Immigration, Department of Homeland.
Yep, the
right?
ISAP program, Department of Homeland
Yeah.
Security, ICE, and then Department of Corrections throughout the United States.
Wow. So the manufacturing is in Boulder,
It is.
and then you've got monitoring. You provide the monitoring services
We
as
do.
well, right?
Yep, the monitoring center is located in Anderson, Indiana.
Okay.
Yep.
All
At
right.
one time, that was also in Boulder, but then we had to move that monitoring facility to Indiana.
Wow.
Yep.
And BI is part of.
BI is a part of the GEO group.
Yeah.
Yep, which is the part of the Bureau of Prisons.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. And when did that happen?
That happened. About 5-6 years ago was when that transition began.
Okay. And has it been good?
It's been great. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
a really good. It's been a really good transition for BI to be able to have that backing going forward with the technology and just the way the structure of GEO is.
Yeah.
It just made complete sense for BI to be a part of that group.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so you've been there for nine and a half years.
I have.
Right?
Yep.
And obviously you love it. And I got that feeling when I toured the plant.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're passionate about the company, and I can see why. I mean, it's just got a great culture. But I think a lot of that has to do with what you've done there.
Mm-hmm.
And so as a manufacturing manager, and in this, especially over the last couple of years, we've got incredibly low unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the big workforce skills gap. And so hiring takes how much of your time?
It takes a considerable amount of our time to
Yeah.
bring on good candidates into our manufacturing facility. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Our screening process is a little unique just because of the nature of our business.
Sure.
We are looking for that candidate that is got a flexible schedule, just because of the nature of the business, as far as the unpredictability of what we are shipping on a daily basis.
Right.
Of course, we have to face a lot of the things a lot of manufacturers do, and that's, we have to do the drug screening, background checks, and things like that.
Right.
So that process becomes pretty lengthy, trying to get that person from an interview and get them actually in the front door and actually producing product on the floor.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It becomes an even bigger challenge in Colorado today, especially with the
It
drug
absolutely
screening.
does.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a real thing that we're dealing with, and it's something that, as we've been doing more and more presentations and more high school tours, it's definitely something that we bring up. It's like, hey, look, this may be a path that you do want to go down, but just understand, in order to get in the door, these are some of those qualifications we have to follow as a
Sure.
company.
Sure. So you got involved with Northern Colorado Manufacturing Partnership when? How many years ago?
Just 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Mhm.
Why?
Well, I recognize from from all the interviewing that I was doing, and starting to see firsthand the skills gap that we're really truly faced with.
What was the biggest skills gap that you saw? I mean, that was just like the aha moment.
The number one, honestly, skills gap that I'm seeing was just that inability to sit across from somebody in an interview and being able to sell yourself in an interview. I was not sitting there interviewing looking for somebody that came in with this elaborate resume
Sure.
and could talk about all the different manufacturing and technology things that they could do.
Right.
What I was looking for was somebody like Slade, like Dom, who could come in, sit there and have a conversation with me about what they were passionate about what they did in high school, about what their future looked like, about why they felt like they would be a good member of a team. And running into person after person who lacked those soft skills, that was the first moment where I was like, we've really got to do something about this, and this needs to start not at the high school level but at the middle school level.
Yeah. And even elementary school.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. I
it's-
mean, we'll go back as far as we need to, but
right.
yeah, but
right.
it's really important that you may be one of these, we've seen the other side of it, right? We have had that person come in with a resume that was very impressive, but their ability to work in a team in the type of environment that we live in,
Yeah.
we were really willing to take that kind of a risk.
Sure.
We were looking for something a little more specific.
So you reached out to Northern Colorado
I did.
Manufacturing Partnership, and what have you found?
Well,
by,
just
by
by
working with them.
By doing that, the collaboration through that partnership we were all kind of speaking the same language. We
Sure.
were all telling the same story. The Manufacturing Rocks was a piece of this. It was fairly new. I joined that team with Jonathan Hall. He's the one that kind of recruited me in.
Okay.
Jonathan's been just an excellent mentor
He's a great guy.
He's really has, I give him so much credit for this pipeline terminology and the piece that he's really been putting together and just trying to help carry that with his leadership and of course, you know, everybody
Well,
else.
obviously, you've done really, really well.
Sure.
If the room was packed,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, for Manufacturing Rocks.
Yeah, you know, and that's what we're trying to do is just get more manufacturers involved with the Manufacturing Rocks program,
which is what?
So it's basically, it's a room full of manufacturers, educators, and Workforce Alliance, everybody
Okay.
working together and talking together with the one goal in mind of bridging the skills gap. And so those three entities coming together, then we're focusing on all those different aspects. And it's been a really, really positive environment to be
That's
in and to
great.
be around everybody from those different communities.
That's great. And you're going out to you're going out to the schools.
Yes.
And you're speaking at the schools.
Yes.
And you're holding events to bring the kids.
We are.
And I believe there's a parents' night.
There's a parents' night coming up in November. And so that's another big aspect. It's not just changing the perception from the student's point of view, but it's changing the perception on the parent's point of view of what
Right.
manufacturing truly looks like today. And through that Manufacturing Rocks program, we are able to really get out there into the community, get out there into the middle schools, doing the presentations, bringing high school students in for hands-on tours, not just a walkthrough, but actually putting things together and doing things.
Right.
And then touching base with the parents on, hey, this is what it's all looking like, and this is where these career paths can lead you.
Opening up their eyes
Yes.
to see manufacturing as it is today, which
Yep.
is incredible opportunity.
Right.
Automation, robotics,
Yep.
tons of technical skills are required,
Yep.
right? It's not the old, dirty, dingy assembly line
Exactly.
factory, right?
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
that, and you know, so many tours that we do, I mean, I'm going to say pretty much every single one, people leave the tour going, I had no idea this is what it looked like.
I know, I love it.
Some of them actually, I think they pictured like a blacksmith shop or something where they
Right.
were making horseshoes.
Where people are like got overalls on,
yeah.
which is a great lead-in to getting Slade and Dom to share with us about what did you think of, did you have any idea what manufacturing had as opportunities, and did you even consider going into manufacturing when you were in high school? We'll start with you, Slade.
When I was in high school, the way I thought about manufacturing was the classic, it's dirty, back-breaking work, you didn't get much pay, you're basically just an indentured servant to the company.
Oh, that's a great that's a great way of saying it. So it's not exactly something you wanted to get into, I'm saying.
No,
Okay.
honestly, the way I looked at it, I wanted to be outside and working outside,
Uh-huh.
but now looking into manufacturing, it's a great place to be and a lot of benefits to it.
Awesome. We're going to talk about that in a second. So how about you, Dom? I mean, you grew up in Boulder. Did you have any idea that this manufacturer was down the road?
No, I didn't. I'd never even heard of BI before.
Yeah.
Before I interviewed there. When I was in high school, I had kind of a different perception. I thought of more like a clean room-esque with conveyor belts and
Oh, okay.
full aprons, masks, and you were just doing the same thing. Putting one piece
Over and
on,
over
yeah,
again.
all day, 10,000 times a day. And needless to say, that's not a very attractive perception for a high schooler. So no, I'd never considered manufacturing before.
Right, right. And now, what do you guys think of, I mean, after 3.5 years of being in manufacturing, what do you think about it now, Dom? I mean,
Well, it's incredible because you have all those different technological influences going on. You have hardware, all of the plastics, injection molding, engineering, software development, firmware. There's everything that goes into building a product.
absolutely. So it's not just being on that assembly line or packaging up a box or just standing there on the line doing the same thing over and
No.
over again. You've been able to see that you've got design and engineering and you've got planning and then you've got actual production and all the incredible equipment out there, right?
Yep.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yep.
you can go anywhere.
Yeah. And you did. So how did you get from being on an assembler 3.5 years ago to now as, give me the title again, it's
Methods and Procedures Analyst.
okay. All right, I'm going to get it by
Yeah.
the end of the show. Methods and Procedures Analyst. Tell us what that is. How'd you get there?
Well, what I do as a Methods and Procedures Analyst is basically I just look at how all of our processes work and come up with ideas on how to improve them. And fortunately, I've had the opportunity to actually make some of those ideas happen. The way that
And that's a great tribute to the culture at BI
Yeah.
and Kyle,
Mhm.
for sure. So yeah,
Yep.
and the initiative that you took, that's great.
So how I got there was I was an assembler on the line, and I was always disorganized and forgot to sign my documents, my paperwork, and always get in trouble for it. And so one day I just had this idea, why don't we just use a computer system to do this instead of initial and date on 200 pieces of paper a day?
Wow.
So I went home and taught myself enough code programming
Wow.
to come in on Monday and went into Kyle's office and just pitched this to him. And it was just this tiny little program that didn't do anything,
Uh-huh.
but Kyle liked it. He took it to his superiors, and then I think it was 2 weeks later is when I started actually working on this application.
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
It is very incredible.
That is amazing, and I believe it has saved the company a significant amount of FTE.
It's, what it's really done for the manufacturing floor is just that overall efficiencies that we're always striving for.
Sure.
Which
equates to dollars.
Yep, and it allowed us to reallocate some of our resources towards actually making product
Wow.
and testing product versus a lot of the documentation and the signing and some of that stuff. So it factored all of that. When you think of how many units we're doing per day
Yeah.
and how much time was spent doing these types of activities, Dom's program has freed up all of those folks to be able to jump in and actually working on the line instead of doing the documentation side. Because
That's
a big piece of
amazing.
our business is documentation,
Yeah.
right? It's
Right.
very important on what we do that we
Sure.
are everything. The quality control on our side. It's pretty serious business that we're in, and everything going out the door has to be 100% perfect, documentation included. And so Dom's piece has just been it's been miraculous at how well it's worked out of the gate. Now he's going back and I'll let you speak to kind of what you're doing now with this.
Yeah. So what I do now with the application, since all of the documentation is set, since we developed it in-house, we can go through and add all these tiny little features that just make other processes a little more efficient. An example of that is automatically printing your shipping label. Normally you just have to go and open a label document, type everything in by hand, but
Wow.
it'd take 30 seconds, but for 1,000 units a day.
Mhm.
That's incredible. Is that what you won the innovation award for?
No, that was just for the whole thing together.
Wait, there's more. Well, we're about ready to break, but we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the innovation award. We want to hear about that. But congratulations for taking the initiative. I mean, and that's part of this whole millennial generation, isn't it? I mean, you guys, you don't waste any time on, if you see something and it can be made better, you just go. But congratulations and kudos to you for taking the initiative, because that's a big that's a character trait.
Absolutely.
That's a character trait.
Thank you.
So you've got some great guys here. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Riveting Connections, Connect and Collaborate show today. I'm so excited to have Kyle Kingrey, Dom Walker, and Slade Melton from BI Inc. And we're talking about the workforce skills gap and solving the workforce skills gap. And these guys are doing it. So we just ended the last segment and talking with Dom about the Innovation Award, the initiative that he took from being an assembler on the line and seeing that it could be improved. And we talked about how millennials, and we've got two incredible millennials here, Dom and Slade, and it's just, it's awesome. It's a part of their generation. They see something, they know it can be better, and they just jump in.
Absolutely.
Do you see that?
I do.
Huh?
And it's not only do I see it every single day from a lot of millennials, but these two guys in particular. But what's also really nice about that is there's a couple different things. Is not all millennials are lazy. Right?
That's
There's a perception out there where
let's correct that.
And these guys are absolutely correcting that.
Yeah.
But what's also really great is working for a company like BI that doesn't draw any lines in the sand as far as no one told Dom, you don't have this expertise. Dom, you don't have this certificate. Dom, you don't have this degree. To be able to let him explore and go down these paths of there was a lot of trial and error on his end. And the company constantly supports those types of initiatives from these guys where if you've got a great idea, if you've got something that you really want to go after, BI, being the technological place that it is, they promote that from everybody. And I've worked other places where that wasn't always the case. It's, hey, this is what you were hired to do, this is your role, and you were kind of kept in that box a little bit.
Right.
Where, the company that we work for, that's a very compelling piece, and a lot of reasons why a lot of folks love working in the manufacturing area.
Yeah, you have very, very low turnover for a manufacturer.
Right.
I was impressed, and you can actually, visiting a lot of manufacturing plants, as I've done, I can now walk into, and you probably could too, Kyle, you just walk into a plant, and I can feel the culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's either vibrant, innovative, where people are engaged, or it is that everybody's siloed. They are, they're disengaged. They're just there punching a clock to collect a paycheck, and they're not excited about it at all.
Yep.
And that's not what I felt.
No, and
BI.
that's exactly what makes BI such a great place for a student to take a tour.
Sure.
Because it is exciting. We make cool products. We have a really cool facility. And that's why this is such a great platform that we have to be able to get students engaged in this type of a career path.
Yeah, it's awesome. So, kudos to BI.
Absolutely.
Because that's a great culture.
Mm-hmm.
So Dom, tell us about the Innovation Award. What did you win? What did you do to win the Innovation Award at BI?
So I think I won it overall just for the application that I put together.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, I won it about 2 years after I put the application together. So
things take time.
Yeah. Normally you pitch the idea and then you win it later on.
Yeah.
But I had already built the application, and the company just wanted to do something to recognize me for that work that I did.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well earned. So, Slade, tell us about your journey from assembler to a manufacturing coordinator, and share with us what exactly is a manufacturing coordinator.
Basically, a manufacturing coordinator is someone that's working on the line with the people making the product, but they also tell people where they need to go. They're looking for gaps in the process, so you move a person just to make sure that at the end of the day you get all your shipments out.
Is this kind of like a video game where you're like placing people and all that? You guys,
Definitely.
That's the other thing about millennials is that you guys are so used to having so much stimulus coming at you from video games, right? you're just really quick to place
yeah.
people where they need to.
Yep.
Am I right?
Oh yeah, and it can be a firefight every single day, but
Yes.
It's awesome.
the coordinators definitely. We have 2 coordinators on the floor, and they just do a phenomenal job by dealing with, vacations and unplanned time off, and this process isn't working, so we need to reallocate some folks over to here, get
Sure.
this taken care of, and so it's a heavy load that he definitely has.
Yep.
Absolutely. What do you like about it?
Oh, basically like Kyle said, the amount of work it takes. I really like piecing the line together to make sure that we're the most efficient in getting product out.
Awesome. Meeting those
Yep.
those goals, right? Because
Yep.
you guys have strict, when a monitoring device is needed, it's needed like now,
Right.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
You can't have
No, we
a
can't
backlog.
decide not to ship today.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's some kind of penalty for that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
The other part that I really like is being able to use my leadership skills I developed in high school and into the workforce.
That's awesome. So share with me a little bit about that.
So during school, I was in the FFA, Future Farmers of America, and they focus heavily on leadership skills.
Mhm.
A lot of people look at it as, oh, you learned about agriculture and animals and everything like that.
And
but
take really cool trips.
yes, you do get to do.
I remember that.
You do get to do all those things, but on the other half of it, they teach you how to work with people and to become a leader and be able to basically get work done.
Nice. And so and I watched you on the floor, and it's almost like a symphony. You you engage with people, and that's quite the skill versus the
Mhm.
taskmaster. You do this, right? No, people it's very friendly.
Yes, all the people on my line, I could go up and talk to them about anything, and also tell them, hey, need to get back to work, or this is what you need to do to improve.
Uh-huh. Right. So, where do you see? I'm going to ask a question that I asked you when I was there. Where do you see yourself in, and where do you see yourself going?
First off, basically becoming a manufacturing supervisor, which is the step up above where I am.
Uh-huh.
And then one day, I want to run the entire floor like Kyle does.
Nice. You're
Yep.
going to take calls and boot them out.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then also keep the the manufacturing rocks and keep bringing more younger, bring the youth into the manufacturing.
Perfect. And you guys that's a great lead-in. You guys are actually doing that at BI. You've got interns. You did Teen Week
Yep.
at BI.
Yep.
Share with me, all of you, about the most impressive. Well, it's all impressive, but Teen Week.
Mhm.
I mean, that's incredible. Teens coming into a manufacturing plant, and just how not only did it touch the teens that were there working,
Right.
but how it impacted everybody that was working on the manufacturing floor. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it certainly does. It almost becomes a team building event in itself by having a bunch of teenagers for an entire week and working in manufacturing. Again, it's one of those things where, you have a certain generation that don't think kids know how to work anymore.
Yeah.
Well, these
That's
kids
not
are.
true.
That's not true.
No.
These kids are now in manufacturing, wanting to learn from you what you're teaching them.
Right.
They're enthusiastic about it, and everybody loves to explain what they're working on and what they're doing,
Absolutely.
and how it helps the community with the devices that we build. So, the Teen Week we did this 2 weeks ago, which is our second year in a row of doing it, and it's pretty much one of the best ways to get a kid in middle school or high school truly excited about manufacturing, because it's an entire 8-hour working day from receiving everything in between all the way to shipping that they get a touch on.
That's
And
awesome.
so they get that big picture of what manufacturing truly looks like. They're actually helping us work on the line. They're putting things together. We're moving them from place to place. And it's just a really positive thing that BI allows us to do with getting younger folks in there for a week.
Absolutely, and then they share it with their friends.
They do.
And it's a snowball effect,
Yep.
and everybody wants to come to Teen Week
Yep.
next week or next year. And
that's just part of that. That's a piece of that pipeline.
And didn't you tell me that some of the teens that attended last year were high school interns this year?
No.
Or I got that mixed up.
No, some of the teens last year had returned again this year.
All right.
But in addition to the summer intern, this is the very first time that BI has allowed a manufacturing intern. And we've always had engineering interns throughout the summer, but this year we were able to land 3 high school student manufacturing interns specifically for us. And all 3, it was just a fantastic program. They learned a lot. And again, it's one of those pieces where it's double-sided. They're bringing fresh eyes to something.
Absolutely,
and
like
so,
these guys.
Exactly right. And so they're like, hey, why do you do it this way? And like, well, why do we do it this way? You know, and they really years or even 10 years, having it broke down from somebody who's a 16-year-old or a 15-year-old kind of forces you to take a look at that.
Absolutely.
And it's a really good program. And then we touch base with their high school teachers or middle school teachers on what they learned. Yeah. And it's a really good program.
And you were sharing with me that you're thinking about reaching, or not thinking, you are reaching out to teachers now.
Yes.
To share with us what you can about that.
Yeah, I mean, so again, a part of this whole pipeline of trying to get students from middle school, high school into a manufacturing career, a big piece of this is also educating the teachers and the counselors on what manufacturing careers look like for their students.
Right.
So it's one thing to talk to them about it, but what we are trying to do is for next summer budgeting for teacher externships.
That's
so
awesome.
A counselor or a STEM MESA type of a teacher can come into BI manufacturing, spend 2, 3, up to a month working in there. That way when they go back to school and they go back to the classroom, then what they're teaching is a little more relevant and they have a little bit more understanding of exactly what this kind of looks like in this field.
Yeah, that is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That along with, the parents' night and educating the parents.
Yep.
Because just like Dom and Slade have shared with us, and I hear, right, is kids are not hearing anything about manufacturing. Nothing.
Right.
No.
Had you known about the opportunities that existed, you might have sought that out right after high school.
Definitely.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
There's a really good example of a tour that we did this past summer. And it was set up through a high school in Boulder.
Okay.
And we had it set up for X amount of students to come do this tour. Well, a couple of the students didn't show up for the bus ride over for the manufacturing tour.
Okay.
So a couple of the teachers, they recruited a couple other students who hadn't signed up for the tour. And these were students they weren't interested in a manufacturing tour. They were going down a different path.
Right.
And these
right.
were actually they were from a math class.
Okay.
Well, they didn't sign up for the tour, but they kind of got drug along. Well, after that tour, those 2 students in particular had a completely different perspective and aspect of what manufacturing looks like and how math is utilized in our world. And they were blown away. And what they realized was, and this is the other piece that kind of helps us, articulate to students, is a career in manufacturing doesn't have to stay in manufacturing. But once you start there, it can lead you down an accounting side. It can lead you down the software side. It can lead you down the legal side. It could lead you down hardware engineering. Dom kind of spoke of that earlier. There's so many different avenues to go down by just simply getting your foot in a manufacturing environment. And those 2 students loved the tour.
You get to see it from inception. I mean, the BI is a great example, right? Because you're always designing new products.
Right.
So design all the way to shipment.
Yep, the logistics side alone. I mean, that's a whole nother avenue to go down.
Huge, right? Yeah, it's awesome. When I first got introduced to manufacturing just a few years ago, my eyes opened up too. Because I mean, even X number of years ago, I had this image because I actually worked in manufacturing when I was in high school, like a night job, and it was that assembly thing where I pulled down a like an automated drill or not drill, but whatever it is. It was making handsets for ATT.
Okay.
Okay, and we put on the mouthpiece to the receiver, and that's what I did all night long. And you could not talk.
Oh man.
On the line, and I vowed, I never wanted to do this.
But I'm sure you learned something from it.
I did.
Okay.
The value of a paycheck.
You bet.
But when I got introduced into manufacturing, my eyes just opened up, and I got introduced through accounting. So I was an auditor, and then a controller, and then a CFO. But I got introduced, and the opportunities are amazing, right? So to Kyle's point, you can be an assembler, you can branch out into software development, you can go into production planning, you can go into management, you can go into HR, accounting,
right,
engineering, design, quality, shipping, receiving, logistics.
Yep.
You have the whole ecosystem under one roof.
You really do. And what a lot of the students don't really recognize, and same with the teachers or counselors, is a lot of these companies like BI will help pay for your schooling.
Absolutely.
Once you're working for them, and you decide, okay, I think I really have a passion about going down this path of becoming a manufacturing mechanical engineer. Companies like BI and other companies around, they'll help fund that.
Yes.
And that's something else that we really need to get out there in front of people, saying, look, we'll help supplement that.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent point. Do you two, Dom and Slade, have any school debt?
No.
I do have a little bit from when I went for the short period I did.
Yeah. But the ROI that you got by investing, by going out to BI and starting out assembler, paid off, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My brother just graduated with his degree. He has debt, but he's looking right now at jobs that I started out at 3 years ago.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. And Slade, you had shared a little bit about your experience. You branched out and you went to college, and we don't need to not say the name, but what was your experience?
Honestly, right out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do as a career.
Guess what? Most of us don't.
Yep. I'm finding out more and more that most people don't.
That's
they just
right.
kind of get thrown in.
Yeah.
So I went to the college with that mindset, and I was like, okay, these are my skills. What do you guys think? And they threw me into business management.
That's the catch-all.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Business administration, right?
Yep.
Yep.
So I went to that school for 3 months, and I was working at the time, taking 5 classes, and also doing odd jobs around Lamar, my hometown, just trying to make ends meet and to be able to live. And I didn't receive any scholarships, even though I had a great GPA average and everything. So I was paying everything out of pocket.
Gotcha.
And so after 3 months of it, I was like, I'm done. I need something more. I want to do something different. And so I ended up contacting my sister and talking to her about it, who actually works at BI also. And she's like, hey, there's a manufacturing opening at my work. And I'm like, I've never done manufacturing, but I'll still throw in my application. And I went and had the interview with Kyle, and BI decided to give me this opportunity to start out as a assembler 1 temp, but then
But that was during the interview, right? I mean,
Yep.
you offered them job on the spot.
Absolutely. I mean, in the middle of that interview, after he was talking about his leadership skills with FFA,
Great.
about what his drive was, about what he wanted to do, even though it was a little unclear exactly, I could still tell that he was a very driven individual who wanted to find something
Yeah.
that was going to drive his passion. And man, I didn't want to lose out on this opportunity. So
With both these guys, right?
exactly right.
Yeah.
and the one thing about these manufacturing tours is students will come up to me and Dom, and they'll ask me specifically, because we're about their age. They're
Right.
like, "Well, what did you do to get into this position?" I said,
Oh, great
Yeah.
question. Yeah.
and I tell them I interviewed, and they don't understand that I didn't have a degree, I didn't have any manufacturing experience, but I interview well, and yeah, got the job, and I'm proceeding from there.
That's great insight.
Yep.
That is excellent insight. So, what suggestions do the two of you have for schools? What can they do different? And I'm talking, middle school and high school. What can be done differently to help open up and promote manufacturing as a really rewarding career, as you're seeing, even, and to Kyle's point, now that it can be a launching pad to something else. But what can be done differently, because a lot of schools aren't talking about manufacturing, at least not in a positive light.
That would be the first thing, is to get those teachers into a manufacturing area, show them that it's not that bad, and that it's actually a great opportunity for their students, and to actually put out like pamphlets and things on manufacturing, because when I was in school, you didn't hear anything about manufacturing.
What'd you hear about?
Being a nurse, being a doctor, vet, you had a little bit of automotive,
Okay.
but and a lawyer. They always want people to be a lawyer.
We got a lot of attorneys out there. What about you, Dom?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I was not a great student, so. But I think part of that was because you have these just big textbooks.
Yeah.
And everything that you're doing is just paper. And if you were to incorporate something like into a mathematics class where you're learning a concept and then you actually can go and tour a facility or have someone come in and talk, and you can look at that exact concept you just learned and see it in real use as a career.
Applied.
Yeah.
Applied learning. That's another great point, because some of the most brilliant inventors and innovators were not good academic students as far as the grades are concerned, right? They weren't. And if you can take apply the knowledge, like what P-Tech schools are doing, that's a great point. So we're almost done with the show. How can our audience and listeners connect with BI to maybe look at a tour, and also NoCo Manufacturing Rocks Committee?
I think it just mainly just going to the websites. Absolutely, just going to the Northern Colorado Manufacturing website,
which is noco.org.
Yes. Yep. And then also just touching base. I'm looking at the BI internet and going through their website,
which is bi.com.
Yep.
Right. And anything that you guys would like to add or tell the next generation coming out?
Don't be afraid of not knowing what you're getting into.
Yep. Basically, don't be afraid to take opportunities, and extend yourself out there.
Awesome.
And persistence.
Persistence, yes. Thank you so much for being our guest today on Connect and Collaborate. And have a great day.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.